Hey, everybody, and we are live with another episode of Office Hours where I freestyle my tips on everything happening this week in the LinkedIn and transition space. Talk about networking, the military transition, using LinkedIn, and some of the other things about this personal engagement thing that's so important for us. So, as I get started, while you're joining, go ahead and let me know where you're joining from and how you feel your team is doing in the postseason when it comes to NFL. Most of you can see my circa 1990 Randall Cunningham jersey sitting right there from the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. I know that people expect a lot of bang for their buck when it comes to the offseason, but when you have a stacked team like that, you expect to lose a few people. But Howie's got 20 draft picks, I think 16 in the first 4 rounds over the next 2 years, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay. That jersey will stay there until we are no longer the Super Bowl champions, which, if I have my way, will not be for at least another year and a half or so. So, with that being said, thanks for joining us. I'd like to start off with highlighting one of our partners today, and that is DLA Finance, Defense Logistics Agency Finance. And so what's exciting is, basically cradle to grave logistics is what DLA does, supporting the warfighter, a bunch of government agencies, NATO partners, everything. Massive organization with an incredibly important mission. But what a lot of people don't realize is there's the business side of it. There's the finance side to make sure everything's getting paid for, contracting, all that other stuff. And so DLA Finance has a very large footprint. They're a fantastic organization that I've worked with in the past. And they're right now have DoD SkillBridge internships or Army Career Skills Program internships available on a rolling start in a bunch of locations. So the roles are business analyst, financial liaison, or accountants. There's also an accountant system role. And so you can check them out at hiremilitary.us. You can look up SkillBridge and see all our opportunities, or search by DLA and see the SkillBridge opportunities. It'll explain the role and the requirements. The only one that absolutely requires a degree is the accountant roles, and that's because they require a bachelor's degree and at least 18 hours of accounting and 6 hours of business law, or 24 hours of accounting. The other ones, it's based on experience and education or a combination thereof. The locations where they are at: Fort Belvoir, Philadelphia, New Cumberland, PA, Battle Creek, Michigan, Richmond, Columbus, Ohio, and if you have accounts receivable experience, Mill City, USA, San Antonio. I know everybody wants to put Mill City, USA on there. They have a very small footprint there. The role primarily requires accounts receivable experience. So if you have that, put it in for San Antonio. For the rest, put the others, and we'll get you in there. The intent is to provide full-time roles at the end. Obviously, that depends on how the government is with hiring, but it is a great way to get a few months of relevant industry experience under your belt and have a pathway to continued employment. DLA Finance, check them out. Now, if you have questions, go ahead and pop them into the comments, and they'll pour it over at some point. Add your questions, and I'll address them as they come in. So this is a great idea to have us talk about some of the things that are of top of mind for you, or top of the dome for you. So my post today is about messaging. And so I teach all the generals and admirals. I teach a lot of the service members, and good morning to you, Lakshay. I'm a big fan of Japan. My son was born there. But so I teach all these classes, and from a lot of senior leaders, what I get is, how do you respond to all these connection requests? Now, for the generals and admirals, a lot of them are sales related, or they want to do government contract work or whatever. But people have trouble figuring out, how do you respond to the connection requests? How do you respond to the messages, the sales pitches, and everything, right? And so I lead off by, first of all, one of the things I had to learn with my network was, no stranger can obligate you to spend time on them, right? So meaning, it doesn't matter whether or not, like, what they're requesting, right? It doesn't matter what you have in common or any of that stuff. You don't have to answer every message. You don't have to respond to every comment, right? In fact, I would challenge you not to, because you have to set your own barriers, your own boundaries for navigating this platform. Otherwise, it can take over your life and you'll start to lose things otherwise. And so, what I will say for all of you is that you need to set your own quick hit criteria to determine whether or not you're going to invest time into someone or let someone into your network. And so my criteria starts off with the basics. Like, is it a complete profile that looks like a real person? Do we have anything in common? Do they have a good amount of connections that shows me they've been on the platform a little while and may be on it in the future? And I'll tell you, I started connecting with everybody when in the beginning. Who knows how many thousands of people I have in my network that aren't really active anymore. So I'll check the profile, like, what do we have in common? Are they active here? And then the next part is, are they going to pitch me? If I know they're going to pitch me, make a sales pitch right away, or, like that, they're just connecting because they want something, it's an automatic no, right? And what I mean by that is anything that says financial, anything that says insurance, or anything that says I help or lead generation or anything, like, nope. I'm not even doing it. Because I know no matter what you say, you're going to sell me, right? If you lead off by saying I'm not trying to sell you something, you're probably going to try to sell me something. So that's a no. And then the last part is really just like the level of effort. Like, are you engaging? Do I recognize your name because you've commented on my stuff in the past? Did you write me a message? These are the things I kind of take into common. I do it really quick to be able to decide yes, no. But you can decide what you want to do, but I think you really need to set those guardrails up there. And my buddy Gary Steensgaard said as well, he goes, one thing he looks at is, could it be mutually beneficial at some point down the road? That's another very good one. All right. So Victor said, are employers still hiring remote IT workers? I will say yes, but remote jobs are going like this. So keep in mind, all those remote government workers are now not remote government workers looking for remote as well. And I will say that the trend across the country as a whole has been to go away from fully remote roles. Now, there are companies that do it. You got to find it. But yes, as an industry, they are still hiring, but you just got to find it. And then you've got to be the best of all those candidates. And hopefully that's where either a niche skill set comes into play or your network. And there you go. City of Independence, Missouri has a contractor remote IT. So Victor, there is LinkedIn coming to the rescue. So I would reach out to Stephen and see if you can get more information. Now, and then Tyshawn says, greetings from New York, home of the no quarterback Giants, right? Or Jets. Oh, no, the Jets got Justin Fields. So good luck. Let's go on to the next topic. The next topic is about your brand, right? And this is, I'm going to move this forward. I got some noise outside. A lot of people have trouble figuring out what to share on LinkedIn. And then you have the LinkedIn police that go around that say, like, it's only got to be work related. It should only be professional. It's a platform for professionals. And so I have to, like, time out these people. Like, whoa, time out, right? Let's think this through. When you need a contractor or you want to buy something, what do? You need to solve a problem. You think of, who do I know, right? And can they do it? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, if any company's hiring, small business, or anybody company's hiring, the first thing you say is, like, do you know anybody? Right? Because you know what you're going to get from a quality standpoint, and you know what you can trust. You know that they can do it. Now, when it comes to a branding standpoint, I'm going to tell you that who you know is very important. And when it comes to who you know, For me to know you, there has to be some kind of personal engagement. It could be smiling photos all the time. It could be like my buddy Gary with his Rush posters and concerts and the wonderful happy hours, or it could be Alfredo with his early morning train rides into the city and Paisley shirts and positive upbeat attitudes. Like there's things people for, but I will tell you that if you don't share what you do, I never think of you when I need something, right? So I know what Gary does because he posts HR as well. I know what Alfredo does in the veteran space, the veteran service, voc rehab, VRE type stuff. Very big veteran advocate. I refer people to them because I trust them, I know them, and I know what they do. Where we get into a loss of value on this platform is when it's weighted one way or another. My example is the beautiful people, or the cat memes, or the handing out coins stuff, or PT sessions, right? That senior leaders post a lot about. Those are great. They get a lot of clicks. But I may know your name, but I have no idea what you do. So you are not a person I think of when I have a vacancy or I need to fix a problem. The other side of it is the people that only post job vacancies, only share work-related stuff, right? So in that case, I kind of know what their company does or what they're involved with, but I don't know them. So I don't have any reason to think of them to solve it because they're just being salesy, right? We buy from whom we trust. Trust comes from relationships. So when you're thinking about the stuff that you engage on and share here on this platform, it's got to be personal and professional. For senior leaders, I see a lot of senior enlisted leaders doing like PT sessions, books they're reading, giving out coins, promotions, stuff like that. That's wonderful. Gets you a lot of clicks, makes people feel good about your branch of service. I don't know what I'm going to hire you for, and neither does industry. And so you've got to share what you are actually doing, like things you've done and the impact, problems you've solved and how you did it, things your unit has done under your leadership. You've got to share a mix of both for those relationships and trust to build and to build a brand that will lead to opportunity down the road. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Mindset change. This was a good one. I've posted about this a few times over the years. So in the military, we highly value leadership. And every senior leader gets out, says they're a leader first and they could do anything. They could lead anything. God forbid you're an 05, 06 or an E9. Obviously, you got to be an executive leader because it sounds like it's more prestigious. All it says to me is that you don't want to work or you don't know what industry runs on. And so, when we talk about mindset change, I like to use the option of a unit run, but I could also use like any meeting with a general or whatever. But the big unit runs, you've got, let's say you're doing an 06 unit run. They give out a time. The 05s give their 15 minutes prior to that time. The 03s and the first sergeants give out their 15 minutes before that. The platoon sergeants give out their 15 minutes before that. And so next you know, you're showing up an hour to an hour and a half early, and you are standing around because each successive leader wanted to make sure you were there earlier. And it sounds stupid and silly, but it does happen. It's the same thing with any large briefing to any senior leader. People keep telling you to show up early and you end up sitting around. And this hit me when I first got out and got my first job. We were briefing the CEO at once a week. I showed up 10, 15 minutes before a session and the lights were off and no one was there. And I was like, what the F? This is the CEOs. Everybody needs to be here. Don't walk in 1 minute early. And I remember talking to some of the VPs. They're like, whoa, I got a full-time job. What do I got to do? Sit around for 15 minutes for what? I'm a vice president. I know where I got to be. I'll be there on time. And so that really hit me hard. And so when I talk about a mindset change, leadership earned in the military does apply for the most part outside. What I share is an NFL draft analogy that our floor is higher because the military has the best leader development program in the world. But that doesn't mean the ceiling's higher. It doesn't mean leadership doesn't exist out here. What I'll tell you is to be able to translate your leadership and get it doneness to the private sector, you need to add additional factors to your decision making. And that additional factor is return on investment. Dollars, right? And so what I mean by that is if that unit run example, you have 500 people showing up an hour early, it's no skin off your back aside from some grumbling because you're not paying salaries, right? If you're doing that in the private sector, who's paying for that? Let's say it's $25 an hour times 500, right? Who's paying that? Public math, I think it's 12,500. Who's paying that money for the hour? Where's it coming from? And what happens if 100 of them say, screw this, I don't like it, and leave, right? Does the job still get done? Or do you get your what is the fourth point of contact handed to you, right? What if you have to pay overtime because it's addition to their 40-hour work week or double time in some states? So now you're out 25 grand because you just wanted to make sure people got there on time. That's the ROI. It goes into every decision. Like you need to make this a part of your decision-making process. And I would encourage people in the military, you don't have to like flip everything right on, but like you set up a meeting, look around a table and say, how much did this meeting cost? It's still getting paid. The government's paying it. But like, just, you know what the salary is, what somebody costs in the military's pay rates. Take the annual salary, divide it by 2,000. That's easy math. It should be 2080, but divide it by 2,000. So if they get 100,000, divide it by 2,000, it's $50 an hour. If there's 20 people around a table, that's what, 50 times 20, that's $1,000. It just cost you $1,000. Did you get $1,000 return on investment? Just start thinking about that with every decision you make, and make sure you sit in on the budget, the contracting, all the other stuff. It will help you pay dividends because then also you'll be able to articulate your impact in dollars and cents when you get out. All right, networking. So I will share that my brand, my engagement on this platform has changed my life. I have a huge network. I show up at events and people know me. I try to get business meetings and people will take the call because they know me, or I arrive at client sites and they know me from here. So like huge amount of benefit. Plus I'm able to I'm talking to Congress. I talk to the VA. I talk to senior military leaders, and I'm able to try to positively impact the transition programs to the best of my ability, right? All of that came from me building the relationships and trust that I have here on LinkedIn at scale. I will tell you that people say that, you're only getting hired for 2 years for business development for senior leaders. After 2 years, when your network is stale, they're going to let you go. They only want you for your Rolodex. And I say, well, if you're being hired for your Rolodex to drive business, and after 2 years, your Rolodex is stale, you deserve to be fired because you did not do your job and keep your network up. And so my network is 1,000 times stronger now than it was when I got out 7 years ago because of my engagement here. I've got about 375,000 followers on the platform. And a lot of times I'll have people say like, how did you do that? How did you build this network? How did you build this brand? And I said, it's simple. I post and engage every day for 8 years. Maybe I didn't post something 5 or 10 days in 8 years. I mean, I don't know, not much more than that. A lot of times I post twice a day and I engage, comment almost every day or answer messages. And so, I just tell people there's no easy button. There's no trick to building a brand unless you're Kylie Jenner and you're born into that family, or you're one of the beautiful people that looks good and do all. But like, I'm a 50-year-old, 50-ish year old, guy that lost his hair and found out he has a gray beard. Thankfully, I'm an Eagles fan, but it's just by showing up. Show up, be authentic, share your story every day. And if you have to calendarize it, what I'll tell you is if you do it every day for 30 days, it starts to become a habit. And it feels weird when I don't. So I got some good questions. ROI is just as American as apple pie. I would agree, James. But unfortunately, we don't think about that from a manpower perspective in the military. And that's something we definitely have to get at. I have Gabriella says, what is a Rolodex? Looks like you are too young to remember them. So just by this little picture right here, a Rolodex, you probably should Google it, used to be a circular device that had cards that would flip, and you would roll it to the letter of the alphabet, and you'd have cards in there with names, phone numbers, and emails. So you'd roll the letter, and you flip through it till you figured out somebody's phone number. That was before we had contact lists, before we had email, before we had LinkedIn and all this other stuff. That was the way we used to keep track of phone numbers. So that was a Rolodex. Let's see what James said. Contact list, yes. Old time contacts, CRM. So, and I love the fact that obviously, Gabriella, you are not being silly. I appreciate you asked the question. And then Rocky obviously has fantastic taste. Randall Cunningham was the OG for the mobile quarterbacks. So the real OG for the real mobile quarterbacks. And there we go. Rocky like that. He did it twice. And then business cards on a spiral notebook. That's good. So one last topic. And if you have questions, add them. But one last topic is going to be my event at Fort Greg Adams next week. So next week from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m., I will be at Fort Greg Adams with the transition team. Deontres Alberry is running the event. Unfortunately, he's a Cowboys fan, but we'll overlook that since they're going to be in third this year in our own division. They're sure as heck not making the playoffs. Deontres has put together an event for me and the DLA finance team. And so from 10 to 12 a.m. in the Soldier Support Center in the auditorium, we will have members of the DLA finance team sharing what they do, looking at resumes, talking to people, and kind of giving you that straight pathway to an opportunity at any of the locations. And Fort Greg Adams, I think, was the old Fort Lee. It's Virginia. It's like 2 hours from D.C. I will be there at 10 a.m. Giving one-on-one support. So I will look at resumes. This is a rare occasion. If you want me to look at your resume and redline your resume, bring it to Fort Greg Adams, Thursday, March 20th at 10 a.m. From 10 until about 1, I will be giving one-on-one support. I will look at profiles. I will talk about career goals. I will give advice. I will review offer letters, whatever. Look at that. I got so excited. My chair almost broke. I am there for 3 hours to give you face-to-face support, whatever you need, while the members of the DLA Finance are talking about their careers and careers in finance. You do not need to register. You just need to show up at the Soldier Support Center on Fort Greg Adams at 10 a.m. or even a little earlier if you want to get in line on March 20th. And I posted about it earlier this week. Deontres posted about it today. From 1 to 3, I will be giving an in-person all around the world on LinkedIn. So if you're new to LinkedIn, or if you're, kind of like my Mastering LinkedIn webinar, but in person, and I will prompting you to do actions. We will be engaging real time. You can work on your stuff while I'm right there. I'll come around and take peeks at stuff and help you get there. I will tell you that I have not, since before COVID, done an event like this. I'm super pumped. This is your chance. I don't know how to put a value on it, but like, this is your chance. I am there 100% engaged for 5 hours. 5 hours giving back. It is completely free, run by the Fort Bragg Adams Transition Center. So I encourage you to come. If you're not there, if you're too far away, but you know someone in the Norfolk, Eustis, Fort Lee, all the way up to the DC area that is getting ready to get out, like, there's no better way to make relationships than to show up in person. And I'll tell you, you are much more likely to get direct support. If you have your ducks in a row and you show up for help and you ask good questions, I'm probably going to be open to making some introductions as I normally do anyway. So I hope to see you all there. Please share it. And if you share the event on LinkedIn, tag me so that I can engage on it. And then I've got, where is Fort Bragg Adams? James, it is in Virginia, down by, I think it's down by, it's not too, like 40 minutes north of Richmond or outside of Richmond, Virginia. So it's, decent between the Norfolk, Hampton roads up to the DC area, all within 2 hours. So I do encourage people to show up. I do know DLA Finance is doing SkillBridge and looking for people. I do know that they are accepting resumes through us so that they are ready to hire as soon as they have the authority. So if you're going to be there, comment and let me know, or shoot a post and tag me. I'll be happy to engage. And then the last thing, as we wrap this up, I don't see any questions aside from the fact that James Meyer is also not a Cowboys fan, which is wonderful. America's most hated team. I will share that the other opportunity we have is a fantastic new opportunity with CNC Boiler Company. They are a family-owned, operated boiler technician company. They operate in the state of Virginia, the state of North Carolina, and the state of South Carolina. And they have a SkillBridge internship where they take anybody with a technical background, active duty military that's authorized SkillBridge in their last 180 days. And they will train you to be a boiler tech. You start off in the mid 60s, like company car, and you go out and do your work. And very quickly you can get up into the six figures. And they have opportunities depending across all 3 states. That's Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. So if you are getting out and going to those states, if you're in those states, if you're able to go attend this internship, I highly encourage you to check out CNC Boiler on the hiremilitary.us website and click to either apply for one of those roles or reach out to Tara Soprano. You can see her at our team as well with any questions you may have. All right. With that, I am just about done. I want to thank you all. 25 miles south. Thanks, Fernando. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Reminder, I won't be here next week. I'll be at Bragg Adams. But reminder that, we're here typically every Thursday afternoon. And then we have hot jobs on Mondays and Tuesdays. We're working on the times, whether it's going to be a little earlier after in the afternoon. But follow Hire Military if you want to know when we're going live. And I hope to see you all soon.